This is Driving Solutions, exclusively on CBTNews.com.
Hi everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for joining me this morning. I'm joined today by a couple of people who have really had an impact on the automotive space over the course of their careers. Kathryn Schifferle, founder and chief vision officer at Work Truck Solutions. Her story of founding the company 12 years ago is an interesting one. Essentially, she learned of critical information that was vital to commercial vehicle buyers, yet not available online. So she decided to solve the problem, helping both dealers and shoppers alike. And she's been introducing solutions for members of this ecosystem ever since. And I'm also joined by Jim Press, former president of Toyota North America and president and vice chair of Chrysler LLC, along with his roles in retail with McLarty Companies over the last decade and senior advisor to Work Truck Solutions for the past 5 years. Thanks so much for joining me, folks. Really appreciate you taking the time with us.
Thank you, Jim.
Nice
Pleasure to be here.
Sure. So it looks like you're driving along there, and you told me, Jim, for the audience, he's not driving, he's a passenger in the car, so there's nothing to worry about there. But Kathryn, you and I have been at a few events recently, which gave us a chance to catch up on a number of topics centered around changes in the automotive space. If we can look back at last year and earlier, compared to today, we've seen a dramatic shifts in inventory levels, interest rates, in the return of sales processes versus order taking, incentives that are now in place, and in competition. And even more important for Work Truck Solutions, a new focus on the value of commercial. I know at least a few dealers, and the ones I talk to, are all working through these challenges and looking to find ways to address them. Is this what you're seeing too out there? And what are the ways that you've been discussing with them how to overcome these challenges?
Exactly, Jim. You articulated them very well. The change was pretty dramatic from very few vehicles and very high prices and very high profit margins. And now it's almost not quite a flood of inventory coming back. It certainly feels a little bit like that to a lot of dealers because it coincided with these other things, this increase in interest. And, I think a lot of their customers, their retail customers, have just decided to wait a little bit. And you combine that with some of the pressure that there was on electric vehicle acquisition and kind of confusion around that. And it's really made the market less than perfect for dealers, the retail market.
Sure.
I think that I have to give some kudos to some of the OEMs for understanding that there is an area that is consistent, dependable, and has good, steady margins, which is the commercial vehicle space.
Absolutely.
We saw it during the pandemic. Everybody else was at home, but these vehicles were serving us and driving around and needed to be replaced on a regular schedule, needed to be serviced on a regular schedule.
Yep.
And it is just consistent. And so that's kind of the opportunity that I think the OEMs are helping to foster, the dealers are starting to recognize. And by the way, when they look around their community, they see lots of businesses.
Yeah, for sure. When I look around in my town and even when I'm traveling, I certainly see a large number of work trucks, from construction to home services to delivery vans out there. Of course, everybody's delivering for Amazon these days. But so that tells me there's definitely a market for them. Historically, at least, some OEMs haven't really made this an area of focus in the past. But it seems like they might be realizing it's a missed opportunity based on the programs that they're rolling out. Jim, with your OEM background, can you shed a little more light on this?
I sure can. First of all, thank you for allowing us to speak with you and your audience. And Jim, I sure appreciate what you do for the industry.
Well, thank you.
In terms of communications, support, and keeping us informed, because you're a vital source of information.
Thank you for that.
The OEMs have discovered the disadvantage of getting out of making cars. Mm-hmm. And of course, Ford has been a long-time leader in commercial vehicles. And so I think a lot of them are lusting after that part of the market and have begun to focus on how do we sell more trucks the truck market isn't continuing to expand. So the way you do it is you move into the commercial business, which is wonderful. It's B2B. It's a unexplored marketplace for many dealers, and it provides loyal, ongoing, repeat purchases that also foster a lot of service business. And so it meets everyone's objectives. And the OEMs are being generous in developing programs to try and encourage dealers who have not been in commercial to enter the market.
For sure. And the numbers are astounding, aren't they? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, they are astounding, and they continue to grow. First of all, from their standpoint, they make a lot of money in parts and service, and a lot of the commercial buyers wind up, of course, loyal customers and service departments. The volume growth in commercial business and fleet has been at least twice what retail has been. And if you look at the larger vehicles, the grosses that they provide, both for the OEM and for the dealers, are significant. And so as you look forward with the expansion of the road programs and infrastructure, construction, it's a consistent market that's going forward. And we can increase their share in every market by the dealers getting involved specifically.
Yeah. Kathryn, you and I have had this discussion many times, and it just floors me the kind of dollars that are out there that dealers haven't really focused on. When you talk to dealers out there, what's your advice about ways to capitalize on this?
I think the most kind of starting at a basic level is understanding the difference between B2B and consumer. And that is the kind of one to multiple purchases, right? One customer can average about 5 vehicles per year.
Yeah.
That's just the vehicles that they're buying for their business. That doesn't include that natural loyalty that happens between a business and
Absolutely.
a dealer that is serving them.
That's right.
And what happens is their family and their employees become customers of that dealership, right? In addition, and we are, I want to say right now, we're updating all of our statistics around gross margins, et cetera. And I can tell you early look at that is that gross margin is over twice for commercial.
Wow.
That the RO is over 2.5 times for for a commercial buyer, and that makes sense, doesn't it, Jim? I mean,
there's no question
they're
about it.
losing $2,000 to $5,000 a day when their vehicle is down. They need it. If a dealer serves them and makes sure that they get the kind of service they need, they're going to be ready to pay. That's for sure.
Yeah,
right?
There's no question. Jim, jump in here because, in addition to previously being on the OEM side of the business, you've also been involved in the dealer side with a very progressive dealer group, a very successful one. From your perspective, can you share a little bit more about the dealer mindset when it comes to building new revenue, and new revenue streams within the operation?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right about being with a very progressive group, the McClarty family and Mac. It's been a great mentor and teacher.
Yeah.
And from a retail perspective, at the beginning of your show, you talked about the changes that are occurring. My friend George at Presidio calls it normalization.
Yeah.
So you've got a situation where your profits are down. Profits are down about 36%. They're still above where they were in 18 and 19, but they're being squeezed in the market itself because of interest rates and demand. So dealers are looking to do two things: expand their volume and reduce expenses. And so that the entrance into the commercial business for those that are not in it provide the opportunity to do both. And especially with programs like what Work Trucks has, you can change some of the lead providers that you have and some of the retail programs that are redundant and focus in commercial, which is a new market segment to develop. And it's trucks. And it's Kathryn said, they're very, very, very profitable. And at the same time, loyal. And so the dealers that are in commercial are doubling down, expanding their organization, adding professionals. And those who have in their market area not been involved, they recognize, Jim, about 25% of the dealers do commercial business. 75% of the dealers in their market that they complain about every day, how many dealers there are and how much competition there is.
That's right.
75% of the market's open. And so it's a great field of opportunity, and it's one that will be long-term. And it's an introduction to mobility, because you're not just selling a vehicle, but you're taking care of that customer's needs, repeat purchase, used vehicle disposition. And now F&I has become a new source with a lot of new companies getting involved in commercial. Some of the smaller construction companies, plumbers, F&I is there too. So
that's right.
From a retail standpoint, couldn't be a better time to be in.
There's no question about it. And as you and I have spoken about before, Kathryn, and I know, Jim, you agree with this, you just kind of touched on it there about the size of the market and the potential that it's got. But behind every one of those steering wheels that are driving those commercial trucks is somebody that needs a vehicle for their family, for their spouse, for their children, for their neighbors. And I think dealers have a tendency to forget that. But you're talking about a car buyer and a car driver in that commercial truck person that comes in, that, to your point earlier, the loyalty factor is there. They're comfortable with the sales department. They're comfortable with the dealership operation. They get to know the service center. So where better to buy their personal vehicles? So I would imagine that the numbers are just astounding. When it's not just that, those 100 trucks you might deliver, but it's the other 100 vehicles that you're going to deliver to some of those families, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. The other element I'll just add is that this is a professional business where you're building relationships, not doing transactions. And that gives an advantage to the dealers that are in it now if you extend into the future and into EVs.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I was always up against a company across the other side of town. The dealer that I worked for chose not to get into the commercial business, although I thought we should have. And they always won the awards. That's kind of like the extra stuff, right? Because they had the volume on their side. And I'm like, yeah, they're delivering 100 trucks a month. I can't keep up with that because we don't have a commercial department. But every single month they could come out and say, we're the #1 volume dealer. And it was because of those vehicles being pumped in from commercial. And it was really something, the way, to your point, Jim, we left that market completely to our competing dealership. It was crazy. It really was. So let me ask you this, Kathryn, any final thoughts from you on this? I know that you and I have had so many discussions about it. I appreciate all the time that you've given us today. But what are your final thoughts? What do you want to leave our dealer audience with?
I think Steve Jobs said it really well, that innovation is really the ability to see change as an opportunity. And I think that it's important to jump in. I mean, Jim and you both have laid out how open the space is right now, what the opportunities are right now. I'd like to also add in how I feel about dealerships, which is, to me, dealerships have traditionally kind of been the heartbeat of a community. Mm-hmm. And I know there's still a lot of dealers that think that way. How much better would it be for them to really get into the foundation of their community then? That's it is right. So easy to target businesses. It's not like B2C where you're hoping that they love the style or the color of the day.
Sure.
These are your community businesses getting up every day. What can you do to help them? And loyalty will come back to you.
That's right. That's right. Jim, I'll give you the last word. What do you want to leave the dealer community with?
Well, this is a tremendous time of change and innovation, and it's a time to try new things. Expand your market and increase your profitability. Commercial is a great way to do it. I'm very blessed to have someone like Kathryn who's teaching me the commercial business. It's like I'm like the guy that tried the razor, and now I'm trying to learn the business. And I wish I was your age, Jim, because this is the time of change. Those are the opportunities that will give us the future.
Yeah,
I really appreciate the chance to speak with you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Jim, I have a quick thing I have to say.
Sure.
If they're more interested in finding out more, we have built a full playbook, chapter by chapter, on how to execute into this.
Wow.
And we're just finishing up an executive summary for all of those dealer principals and
Okay.
general managers who would like to see the numbers.
Yeah, we'll put a link right below the video that you're watching, folks, to go ahead and get that report and that white paper on that, and we'll make it very easy for you. And then the rest is up to you to do it. So you're now a click away from a whole new business revenue stream, I should say, with inside your dealership, which makes perfect sense. This is a no, in my humble estimation, and I've been around the business for 40 years. In fact, Jim and I worked for Mr. Moran down in Deerfield Beach together some 4 decades ago. See, I'm showing my age right now. But I will tell you, there's no question about it. Right? I think if Mr. Moran was around today, Jim, he would agree this is a no-brainer, right?
You've got it.
Yep.
He's the greatest teacher we all had. And every time you think about it, a good decision on how to make money and customers happy, think of what Mr. Moran would have done.
That's right.
He's got
That's
it.
right. Well, thank you both so much for joining me. Really appreciate it. And love to do a follow-up with you to see how things are moving along.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching Driving Solutions, exclusively on CBTNews.com.